First off, everybody who is on here in the attendees, you can ask questions throughout the entire event. And if you wanted to actually talk to us at some point, you can either put it in the chat bubble or that question and answer mode. And I can click on you and actually turn your camera and microphone on if you want, or give you the option to turn it on if you want. And you could actually ask a question or talk if you want. That's one option that not too many people have been brave enough to use, but if you want to, feel free to. And at the end, we'll kind of do a little question and answer form. But all right, Jamie, thanks, man. Been looking forward to chatting with you on here.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started here. Tell us about yourself. Give us a little bit of background, what you do, what you've been doing, how'd you get involved in fishing, just, kind of the basics of that. And
So I was born in Kenya, grew up there. My dad taught me how to fly fish when I was 3. So I spent most of my time on the rivers there, catching trout, which was very cool. He also had a little boat, so we used to go offshore in like a Zodiac with a 25 horsepower engine, catch tuna and stuff. And that's kind of where the addiction was born, if I'm honest, and it's never really stopped. So just fished my whole life anywhere I could, and then I actually got a job in London when I was in my 20s. Didn't really know I could make money out of fishing, didn't really know it was a career option. But suddenly I realized it could have been that, so I actually started a fishing travel company in Kenya, and then I managed a lodge in the Bahamas, a Billfish lodge. Then I was a guide in the Seychelles, a flats guide and an offshore guide. And then from there, that's when COVID hit, actually. So I suddenly became a writer and wrote about fishing for most of COVID because I couldn't take people fishing. And then when COVID started, as I kind of ramped up my own fishing travel business, focusing on Billfish on fly, actually, mainly more than anything. So that's kind of how it all went down.
Cool. Well, if you can, maybe tell everyone a little bit about, kind of what you've been doing the last few years with like your sort of like your guided trips and kind of like your fly fishing school. So that's really neat. It's a really cool concept. It's something I've been thinking about for a while in terms of just fishing in general. And you've been doing it for a little while, and pretty neat concept. If you want to give us an overview of that.
Yeah, so I always found like as a guide or a captain, you're kind of doing a lot of the work for the angler. And actually they get way more fulfillment out of learning about it and, being more in control. So I kind of came up with a Billfish on fly course where like there's a team of 3, the anglers, there's 1 angler, there's 2 guys on the teasers, they're tying all their own knots. They're kind of living and dying as a team, right? So their buddies are teasing for them. If they don't tease well, their buddy doesn't catch a fish. They've got to tie their own knots, and I'm there guiding them through that whole process. So I think that really adds a large element to kind of how much people get out of the experience. It's much more engaging than just handing someone a rod with a fish or something like that. So that was really cool. And I'm doing this in the Galapagos in Kenya, so those are 2 destinations that are pretty mind-blowing. Galapagos is especially special, and Kenya is obviously very close to my heart. Also a very cool place to go. So. But I think it all just came from just being a guide, really, and seeing this gap in the market where people really want to learn to make it more of a meaningful experience rather than just kind of, angler being a winch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Quite a lot, Yeah, so that's kind of where it came from. And then doing it privately guided, I think when people start to travel to fish, and unless you're going to a lodge and you're going somewhere, everything's taken care of at a lodge, but when you're going somewhere that's a bit far-fetched and it's a bit out there, then it's a bit daunting. So the private guided stuff is I'm there throughout the whole trip. I meet them at the airport. We're there having dinner together every evening. We're talking about the fishing. We're learning in the classroom. And then, we're fishing together in the day. So everything's taken care of from as soon as they land to when they leave.
Yeah, that takes a lot of stress out of it for sure. I think
Yeah,
that's a really cool concept because a lot of these destinations are not as easy as just jumping on and booking okay, I'm going to book a Holiday Inn room and, show up at the boat at this time and some of these places are pretty remote. And if you don't know the right things to do, you could end up in a situation where you're like, uh-oh, what
yeah,
did I do here?
and you're
Um,
kind of taking all that ambiguity out of like what time of year is best for the fish, and where shall I stay, and who's a good captain, and who do I trust, and I've done all that work and that research, and I've been to these places and fished with, found the right people to fish with, and found the places to stay. And so it just takes all of that hassle out of the whole adventure,
yeah.
Almost.
Well, what's cool about it too is like your clients walk away from it with skills that they've learned from a professional instead of just going there and just catching a fish, which is obviously amazing, right? But not only do they get to catch their fish and do their thing, but then they go home with skills and um, being able to then implement that if they go and they fish somewhere else or throughout their life. I mean, some people don't have the luxury to be on the water every single day or have this as a job. Some people, they got to work and they
Yeah,
save up to do their one fishing trip. So they might live inland or not away from billfish. So they're not getting able to fish all the time. And the type of fishing you're doing isn't as easy as like a heavy tackle fishing where, there's quite a lot involved, in terms of teasing and getting the fish to eat and all that sort of stuff. So somebody who's not doing it all the time, it can be tough. And there's a difference between going somewhere and then having the mates hook the fish for you and just hand you the rod, you reel it in, and then you're back onto the next one and they do it again in terms of, and the difference of doing it yourself. So that's a pretty fulfilling thing, I think, for clients and having a professional to sit there and teach them along the way, which, as charter boats, I like to talk with my clients and like show them as much as I can, but sometimes you got these guys only for a couple days and, it's not the easiest thing to do. So having something like that with a guide, I think is a really cool, really
yeah,
cool.
absolutely. If I'm driving a boat, I don't have the time to coach people, right? Like that time in between fish and during the tease, when you're kind of talking to the guys on the teasers and getting to do it right, and you're gearing up the guy on the fly rod, and then you're kind of getting all the timings right with the captain. And if you don't have that guide in the middle of that process, it makes it really hard to teach. Everyone's really busy, right? It's all complete error. Getting that fish on that teaser, and you want to get them to the transom, right? Like it's the foot from the transom you want to get that fish teased into. And the angler, the hardest bit is staying calm because you're seeing this fish of a lifetime coming up on this teaser, and you're staring at it and you're waiting. And I've seen anglers shaking with the fly in their hand. I'm just like, gotta calm, take some deep breaths, And then when we go into neutral, to put the fly in the water, I mean that's so key. The fly's got to get there quickly, and it's got to move. And
Yeah.
because as soon as everything stops, that fish turns off. And
Yeah. Real quick, Jamie, just for people who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah.
When you're fly fishing, the boat has to be out of gear, when that fly gets,
As soon as
captured.
you make the cast, as soon as that cast starts, so the captain will yell neutral, and then the angler can start casting. And then the fish, you want a hot fish, you want it teased right. And if that fly isn't in there and moving quickly, that fish will just peel off. And he'll be way out of that fly range, right? Because you're only going to cast about 30 feet, 30, 40 feet. So you've got to be really quick and you've got to be on it. And you've got to be really calm to get that right. Because casting a fly rod with an outrigger over here, people shouting over there, it's just completely chaos. So you've got to really be cool in the moment. That's the hardest thing to teach people, I think. Because the more you see it, like the calmer you can be in the moment. But when it's new to you and it's super exciting, keep your cool and actually make that shot is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Part of my job is keeping the fly angler. chilled and ready to go. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. I mean, just bait and switch fishing, just teasing a fish and giving it a bait. There's a lot that can go wrong. But when you start adding in a fly rod and then line on the deck and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah,
it's a whole thing. Which kind of, I guess, leads us into our next question of why fly fish for these things? Because
yeah,
catching marlin is hard. I mean, on
it's
a
fun. Yeah,
130 with it in the rigger with just a lure is hard.
yeah,
So now and then bait and switch fishing and feeding them a bait is hard. And now you're taking another step and throwing a fly, which is basically becomes somewhat stagnant in the water because you're not trolling. So then you're switching this thing off of a lure or whatever it is, a chase bait or something, and
yeah,
you're giving it this thing that doesn't look like something they would eat generally, and you're trying to get that thing to make a good bite, and then you're trying not to break it off on the bite or tangle it in the rigger or get it stuck on something here or there, and then you got to fight this thing with a fly rod. So the it's there's a lot more failure
yeah,
than success fly fishing. It is freaking hard.
absolutely. So I don't think people should fly fish for billfish everywhere in the world. I think it's made places where there are a lot of fish, because it gets a bit like if you went pitching in the Galapagos, it would be a little bit too easy. I think you're raising 20 to 30 marlin a day, and you can get triple ups very easily if your team know what they're doing. So after a day of that, fly fishing doesn't look so bad because it's adding to the challenge. And it's just the excitement. For me, it's the team game, right? Like the two people on the teasers and the captain and the angler, everyone has to get it right. If one person gets it wrong, that fish either doesn't count as a fly caught fish or you're not going to catch that fish. The guy on the teaser takes the bait out too long, or he leaves the teaser hanging over the side of the boat in the water when the captain's going to neutral, that fish is going to still be on that teaser. It's not even going to look at the fly. The captain slows down while you're teasing, the fish will turn off. Or if he turns the boat the wrong way and it goes in the wash, you lose the fish on the teaser and it's gone. So it takes the team game is insane and the communication is insane. And when it goes right, it's out of this world. You have the mates doing everything right, the captain's conducting it because he can see how the fish are behaving, telling each guy on the teaser what to do. And as the teasers come in and they're close enough to the boat, he's going to switch to the angler and pull into neutral, and then the angler does his thing. And then once you're hooked up, there's no line in the water. There's only one rigger up. So there's one rigger down, one rigger up. So you've got a lot of space. He just goes back into gear and you just kind of get away from that fish, basically. And then the fight can take, an hour plus, especially if you're using 20 tippet, which is the IGFA rules. You can't put too much pressure on those things.
Yeah, and the drag, on a conventional reel, we mark our drag so we know.
Yeah.
Oh, we got 20 pounds of drag on this fish right now. Oh, we got 50 pounds. Oh, we got 10 pounds. We're back in it. It's all on a fly rod. Explain the drag system to everybody.
Yeah, so it depends on the reel you're using, right? Using a Mako, which is probably the best reel you can use. Their drags are all preset and they'll stay the same. You kind of need to mark it yourself, so you'll test each drag setting and you'll put use nail polish and put like a mark on 1 pound, a mark on 3 pounds, and a mark on 5 pounds. When you're fishing blues, you hook them on 1 pound of drag. When you're fishing stripes, 3 pounds, and sailfish on 5 pounds. And you don't really touch the drag after that. You can kind of go up in the fight, maximum to 5. But for the hookup, that's where you want to sit.
Yeah,
but
and
1 pound is actually quite incredibly strong.
yeah,
No way. Sometimes I got a knot on a fish in the Galapagos on the bottom of my reel, and I was trying to undo it and kind of go towards it, and this fish just got held there and just thrashing, and then it popped, and actually the fly line broke. It wasn't the 20-pound tippet.
wow.
So, and that fly line should have been 35-pound core. I think it was a bit old. But the fact that the 20 didn't break in that moment is pretty impressive to me. So you have got quite a lot of leverage to hit that fish. but you know, you've got to know what you're doing to not break it off as well, right? And you only have
Yes.
one bit of chop tip it on the fly. So if that fish comes up and starts billing like this, it's just going to cut your 20 like straight up.
Yeah.
So it's everything's got to go right. Can go very wrong very fast. But usually there's enough fish to get and raise another one in a few minutes.
Yeah, at least you get a few shots. So
Yeah.
it'd be hard to do it here. I know Kevin does it sometimes, and yeah, they're usually trying for like spearfish or something, but or little blues. But yeah, it's a you got to have your numbers for sure to make that work. And then the other thing I don't think people realize is that you're really only, when you're fly fishing, right, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So your tippet is whatever size it is, and then your fly line, the diameter of that line just dragging through the water could be enough to pop you off, huh? Like on a big one, if he goes.
Yeah, that's that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? So I've never had one pop like that actually, but what the fly line does do is it sinks and it has weight. So when you're backing up on that fish and you're bringing, you're winding your line in, it's, even if you go too fast and you lose tension, that fly line's holding tension on the fish for you. So you don't have to stay in contact the whole time when you're going in reverse to catch up with it. You can kind of just catch up later because that fly line's keeping the tension on the hook, so the hook's not going to pop. Give it back, which is really
I think that brings up a pretty interesting aspect that could be kind of in any type of fishing, right? Like a lot of times, we'll be fishing or I've seen people that the fish is jumping or whatever, he's all over the place, and they pull hook and they'll blame their angler and be like, well, the angler couldn't keep up, couldn't pull the slack out of the line. But if you do this long enough, the truth of the matter is, and this is generally why I like to turn right on the bite, is the line itself, especially when we're fishing 130, the line itself is enough to hold that, is enough drag to stay tight to that fish. So when that fish is, your line's going this way, but the fish is over here.
Enough friction there to keep that tight, for sure.
Exactly. And then you add a lure being dragged backwards or, whatever situation it is, or however you're catching them. Right. But I think that's something that people tend to overlook, and they'll say, oh, it just shook the hook because I couldn't stay tight or my angler wasn't very good or whatever. But there's actually things like, as a captain, you can do to try and stay, to keep that tight on there. And, sometimes it's like,
reverse that fast anyway, if you don't want to. It's your choice.
Yeah. So I never, there's obviously things anglers can do. I've seen all kinds of mistakes made, but I never get too upset if that's the case, because I really just don't think that's the matter. When you're straight right at the end, maybe, if they don't stay tight or something, but I think that's definitely something that people should keep in mind when they're fishing for blue marlin, is that the bow can be your best friend sometimes, especially if you don't have a good angler. Or
you got to make it easier for the angler, right? That's the whole.
Yeah.
Your angler's new to this. You got to behave that way and make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
To succeed, right? That's the whole point.
And figuring out, like,
there's some really old guys who can't wind very fast, and we reverse slowly.
Yeah.
And it just takes time to catch the fish, but it's their day out, not mine. So
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If they can't do it, like, you got to stay with their pace. They're the ones.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing it for them. So yeah,
that's the whole point.
But that's something that, everyone out there, like, to keep in mind, is like, you can use the bow in the line and the drag and the friction of the line going through the water to help you catch that fish. And like, once you start figuring that kind of out, you can understand of, like, using that pull to make the fish do some different things. So, I'd assume you probably see that a bit fly fishing.
We change the angle on fish a lot, actually. We have to. We haven't got the gear to lift it. Once it's sitting down and deep, I'm like, the captain, I was like, just drive away. We lose 20, 50, 100 yards of line. We change the angle, and then it comes up, and then now we can go back and grab the leader, hopefully, if we get there in time. Or, we just get some line back on the fish.
Yeah, I think that's like something really important to learn, as captain and crew, is how to make those fish do different things. If you just get over top of that thing and just put the boat neutral and just whatever, or keep just roaring right back on it and then get straight up and down and stop the boat or whatever, on a nice fish or on lighter tackle, you're going to screw yourself in terms of.
Yeah, you're either going to kill the fish or you're going to lose it. You're
Yeah.
either going to push the fish too far, it's going to take too long, or something's going to break.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and it's all right to let the fish pull a little bit. It's okay. Yeah. It's if you actually want them to a little bit. So
yeah, you don't want them to be super fresh, right?
No.
Yeah. No.
So
makes the very, very dangerous conditions.
I'd assume, on that fly line, that's probably a really cool aspect you get to learn, because you have to, like you said, you can't pull that hard. So you have to use every element you can to try and divert that fish or make that fish do what you want. And ultimately, if that fish doesn't want to do it, if that fish doesn't cooperate, like, you're pretty screwed, huh? Like, if it's a nice one.
I mean, the maximum size we're looking at is 300 probably.
Yeah.
They're mostly around 200, 250, these fish. Stripies are much easier than blues as well. A blue will play with you, go up and down and go down a lot. And, stripies will be a bit better behaved. Much easier to manage.
Yeah. They're probably easier to get to tease and feed too, huh? The stripies.
Actually, because they're actually in the Galapagos, they're all in the same bait ball. So they're kind of aggressive as each other, which is really nice. You can't really tell in the moment what you've raised, because it's all happening super fast and they're pretty much the same size. They're all 200 pounds plus. So it's very hard to tell on the teaser what's going on before you picked up.
Yeah, I was impressed with some of the photos you sent of the stripies. It's like, geez, that almost looks like a blue marlin. Like, that's a solid fish. Like,
yeah, they're big there. They get really big. Fish 350, I think. Max.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. So yeah, I guess, in terms of fly fishing, the allure is just how it's extremely difficult. So the challenge is up there.
It's the visual. For me, it's the teamwork, but the visual for the angler, I don't know. It's to cast to that fish in that way is just up as well for me. And it's just such a team game. And once you've actually thrown that fly and you've stripped it, and you feel that eat, and you watch it happen, and you set that hook, and you clear your line, it's just it's the pinnacle of a feeling you can have in fishing.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it's like casting to a big tarpon and sight fishing it and hooking it yourself, and you're doing it with a marlin, which is a bit different.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. And the other thing with the fly fishing is, when I was in Vanuatu, the guys next to me, Russ, and I think he had Evans. I can't think of his first name, but they were fly fishing for records. And what if people aren't too familiar with this type of stuff, like, so when you're fly fishing for records, you can't use a flying gaff when you stick these things. Like, they're using like stick gaffs with like a T handle on the end that they're like putting under their arm
so they can pull it in.
Yeah, and some of the video footage is just like, holy crap.
Yeah, that must be insane. I mean, the IGFA doesn't make it easy.
No.
And it's probably the hardest way to catch a fish, and then the limitations put on the tippets and things like that actually make it much harder. And actually, they put way more pressure on the fish, right? If you could fish straight 80, you could put more pressure on that fish, and you could deal with him much faster.
Yeah.
Now, 20 to 20 pound tippets, the strongest you're allowed. So,
do you find that because you've done heavy tackle fishing as well and stuff? Do you find that on that really light tackle with like giving them, minimum drag for the most part. If that same fish were to be hooked on like a 130 or something, and you're hit him hard with drag and do all that, do you find that they act very different in terms of, letting them have that light drag and kind of using the bow, the line, and what you're doing fly fishing, as opposed to just like getting on them with a bunch of drag?
If we're talking about small fish, like 200-pound fish, then yeah, it makes
Yeah, blue marlin.
Yeah, like a 200-pound blue. Like if you knuckle down on a 130 on a 200-pound fish, you break their spirit very quickly. That's mostly what it is. It's not actually, they've got the muscle to keep going if they want to. But if you change their mind and think they've lost this thing, they kind of give up much faster. And the same with other species. Letting them ride and go as a smaller fish, I think this gives them a bit more confidence to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Talking about 500-pound fish, it's probably a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a different story.
Yeah.
Much drag causes the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Really
pisses them off.
Really big creature that you don't want to be angry, right?
Yeah.
So I think it goes the other way when they get big.
Do you find that with that lighter drag, they tend not to dive as much and go down deep?
So yeah, they tend not to until they see the boat.
Yeah.
When they see the boat, they change their mind. We even fish a sinking line. Our fly lines are sinking lines usually. So it sinks. So the whole idea is that it makes them go the opposite direction. So they go up. They stay on the surface. So their pressure's coming from down. It's pulling them downwards. So the whole idea is they go the opposite direction. But as soon as they see the boat, they just want to. They go down and they hold at about 50 feet, and then play the angle game.
Yeah, that's interesting. I noticed when I was doing some light tackle stuff that I felt like those fish would stay on the surface for the most part. And I was surprised, could catch them pretty quickly. Because, if you had a boat, they could do it. But yeah, you could get a shot and catch them pretty quickly, as opposed to just locking up a bunch of drag on them. They would then kind of go down or whatever, and kind of changed my idea on how to fight them sometimes early in the.
You can go, if you can reverse at 10 knots and get after them, then yeah, you got a shot at grabbing the leader in 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah,
they'll stay on the surface for a while.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, I think the fly fishing stuff is really intriguing. And
you have to come and do it.
It makes something that's really hard even harder. So yeah. I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I do think that's cool. Well, let's kind of like shift gears and talk about travel fishing a bit, and maybe some of the do's and don'ts, or give some advice on it. What happens. Yes. I hear guys like, I get people that say, oh yeah, I went to Cabo or something, and they're like, and I didn't know who to fish with. These guys had a great website, blah, blah, blah. I booked a trip and I showed up and it was like a glorified panga, and the guys didn't know what to do. And they finally hooked a billfish and they fought it for 4 hours, and it was a nightmare, and da, 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 da. So people, I think that there's a lot of mistakes you can make in terms of like booking your charter, traveling, all this type of stuff. And like, for instance, what we're talking about with the guided trips, it eliminates a lot of those issues. But for someone, in terms that they're just going to book it and whatever, I'm sure you got a bit of advice you could probably give people when they're looking at travel fishing, or anything like that.
The main thing about travel fishing, I think the two things you've got to get right are your captain or your guide, and your time of year, and your destination, right? Instagram is an excellent place to actually do that research. If you follow billfishreports.com, you can kind of see the global pattern of fish and where they've been caught and what boats are catching them. So that's a very easy way to find a boat that's doing well. Also, Yeah, and that's also a great way to see what parts of the world work at different times of the year, right? So I think that's very key. Like, and then the weather. So time of year, season for fish, and who's taking you fishing. Those are the three things I would make sure of first. And also reach out to people, right? Most people have gone fishing somewhere or know someone. And there's only 6 degrees of separation in the world, right? So chances are someone knows a captain in the place you want to go pretty easily, or knows of one. So I think, and once you know the captain, they can definitely recommend where to stay and when to come. And it kind of all comes back from that local source. So I think that's probably my best piece of advice.
Yeah. I think probably doing a little bit of your own research instead of just taking the word from the whatever guy or whatever captain you contact or whatever probably goes a long way too. Because if you ask the wrong person and they're just trying to get a booking, not all captains are the same. Some are a little bit shy, and they might tell you, "Oh yeah, come this time. This is the," because they're just trying to fill a space.
Just making a sale, right?
Yeah. And that's something that, there's certain destinations that I've seen that, and they hustle pretty hard and kind of bullshit a lot. And
There are definitely places that make their seasons a lot longer than they should be. Either side.
And two, I guess, in terms of a client too, being honest with what you're trying to achieve is huge. When someone contacts me about a charter, like the first thing I ask him, or the first thing I say is like, look, we're bill fishing, like we are marlin fishing. So if you're coming here to just fill up your coolers, or you're coming here just to catch a fish, you're on here on vacation and you're just looking at just bend a rod, I can recommend someone that's really good at that, and they love doing it. And that's their passion. They just like to fish. But if you want to come out here and put in the time and try and catch a big blue marlin, or try and see, a couple blues and whatever, then let's do this. And I'll talk about the dates. But I think being straight up with the captain, and the crew or whoever you're booking with, is huge. And making sure that your goals align, because if they're like, hey, we're really only trying to catch billfish, and then you get on this charter and you book 4 days with this guy, and then a day in you're like, but hey, it's not really happening. Can we go wahoo fishing for the rest of the trip, or can we just go bottom fishing? Well, you're kind of, neither one of you going to win in that scenario. So being straight up about it, and saying like, hey, look, if the marlin bite's not good, I'd like to go do something else. Say that right off the bat when you're booking your trip with people.
Honesty is really important. From both also setting expectations. Yeah. Like the best way to not get disappointed after spending a ton of money on a travel destination of fishing. You've gone and said, this is what I'm expecting. And, whoever you're booking with can either say, I can deliver that, or I can't, but this is what I will deliver. And are you okay with that? And as long as that's all done up front, then I think everyone will have a good time.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit realistic about what the possibilities are. It's like anything. Like, I go on surf trips, and sometimes I don't even get to surf. The wind comes up, something changes, things go bad, and same thing can happen fishing. You may go to the best spot ever, and they're just not there that week, and you can't.
Yeah, my friend for a week of permit and bonefish and tarpon in Mexico, Mahawa and Ashkalak, and we had a typhoon for a week, and we all got COVID. So we couldn't fish. We stayed in our Airbnb with our rental car parked outside in a typhoon for a week. And we were all sides from the Seychelles, so we kind of started to learn what it felt like for our clients who had come on a rainy week. We were like, oh, maybe this is a bit of karma, and now we understand. Like, it sucks, right? Like, but it's things you can't control in fishing, sadly. Like, what you can do about it.
Yeah, so you gotta, do your research and talk to a few people, find the right captain, make sure you check out what the boat's like, the tackle. I mean, do your research, and then come there with a positive attitude. I think is a good thing for clients to remember. And
yeah, I think remember it's also bigger than just a fishing trip.
Yeah.
Like you're going to quite amazing places usually. I mean, the best fishing is usually in remote, incredible parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's
culture and learn a new thing and see some things that, you know, are inland maybe. You know, everyone gets so focused on fishing. I think there's a big cultural and environmental side that's part of fishing travel that people need to spend a day
yeah.
on, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Trying to encourage that.
that's one of the biggest things about, you're going on an adventure. If you're going on a fishing trip, is like to enjoy the entire trip. If you're on, if you're just focused on, I need to catch, I need to catch, I need to catch, that's going to take away, and you're going to miss some of the aspects of the entire journey. Even just the travel there, the people you might meet in the airport or on the plane, the restaurants, the food, the little moments here and there. You get up early and have your coffee and, see some sort of wildlife, or, that's the type of stuff that is, if you're going to do this, is like to keep in mind.
Part of the journey, right? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and yeah, I mean, sometimes that may be some of the best part of the trip, like, oh, the fishing was good, but like I found this amazing restaurant. I met these really cool people. It was this, and I'm going to go back next year and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I think if you're DIY fishing and you're doing it yourself, that's also a form of travel, right? You're not booking a captain. You're going to go walk a beach or something. It's all about preparation, gear, and right lures or right flies and right time of year, and doing a ton of deep research.
Yeah.
Google Maps and looking at beaches and satellite mode and thinking about currents and tides. And, at least 10 days if you want to work it out. It's going to take at least that to get it right halfway through if you're lucky.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how many messages and emails I get from people that are like, I want to catch a grander, or I want to catch an 800, 1/800 or whatever. Could I just book a half day with you? Like, do you think we could get it done in 4 hours?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, maybe, but probably not. You need time. You got to put time. I mean, I say minimum for here. You want a minimum of booking 3 days. That's a minimum.
Oh yeah.
To try and see some fish. But if you want to catch a proper one, like, I mean, it could take you years. Who knows? You got to put your time in. You got to pick your months. It's not like,
some people get lucky though.
Yeah, and some people get lucky. The first time they ever been on a boat and they catch a 900 pounder plus or whatever, or whatever it is, So it's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, the expectations have to be a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen 2 fish over 800 in my life.
Yeah,
1,000 plus times looking for them.
Yeah, and you're fishing in spots that have big fish.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, so it's it goes both ways. As a client, you got to be a little realistic too,
and when you fish enough, you'll have those awesome, incredible lucky days, and you'll have the rained off sitting at the dock day as well. Like they're all going to happen at some point.
Yeah, the hills and valleys, right? Yeah, you're going to have the good days and the bad days fishing. That's for sure. So, that's cool. Well, let's talk a bit about like some of the spots that you guide, and some of the spots that you fished. Numbers, big fish, all the different things. First off, the Galapagos is an extraordinary fishery, and it's over the last few years, it's really starting to actually get the attention that it probably deserves, because people are actually fishing it and probably more and posting about it, and the numbers are getting out there. I think probably the captains and crews are getting more dialed in. Things are getting, as fisheries go, but the fish are there.
It's the most incredible fishing I've ever seen in my life.
Tell us a bit about it.
So I was just there in May now. I was there in April. It's just, so the striped marlin fishery, let's start there. That's what it's mostly known for. I think in the 90s, early 90s, Braden Escobar kind of started everything. He's the guy who I fished with there first.
Uh-huh.
The operation. He sadly passed away earlier this year. So good word for him. But yeah, so the fishing, so you're going to raise between 10 and 100 striped marlin a day.
That's crazy.
Depending on the day. We raised, our last day, we raised 26 fish in 4 hours. We landed 3 striped marlin and 1 blue on fly. And at 12 o'clock, we went home. Because we were like, let's go home. Well, we're done. That was awesome. Let's leave. We're good for the day. Also, it quieted down, right? We didn't see a fish for half an hour. And we were like, it's been amazing. Let's just, the clients were like, we're happy to go back and have a well afternoon. I was like, okay, let's go. No problem. So that was amazing. And the fishery is just, they're always there. It's year round. We don't fish there when the weather's a bit rough, which is July, August, September. But from November to end of June, like mid-June, these fish are there, the water's calm. And it's just mind-blowing. Like every 20 minutes you raise a fish.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. And in terms of like the bigger fish,
yeah, so there's some giant blue marlin there, off a different island.
You can't kill anything, right? You can't kill any billfish at all there.
No, so let's talk about the Galapagos National Park. So everything within 40 miles of land is in the national park.
Yeah.
So every sport fishing boat has to have a license to fish inside that national park. Mm-hmm. That license costs around $30,000 per year.
Oh shit!
Just for the boat to even go fishing, they have to start with that. Then every boat has to have an observer from the national park who works for the National Park Service on board.
Uh-huh.
One of the deckhands. It's actually very cool because he knows the name of every single bird. You're going to see every type of whale, every type of dolphin. So he really teaches you about all the amazing things you're seeing while you're fishing in the Galapagos. Yeah, everything's catch and release. You're allowed to keep a few tuna on wahoo and dragon if you come across them.
Okay, so you can kill like some meat fish to come and eat.
It counts as like artisanal fishing for the locals.
Okay. Yeah, but it would not be a spot you could fish like the World Cup because you can't kill one and weigh one.
No, absolutely not.
So it's more.
It's not a world record fishery because you can't.
Yeah. Which is so you can go there for releases and you get some pictures. You can.
Lots of numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, if a fish dies on the line, I think it's happened once. I mean, it comes back and goes to the village.
Okay.
So that's why you're fighting it. One big blue died. They'll take it to the village.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, that's interesting. When you're down there fishing, what kind of spread what are you guys generally pulling? Because you're not pulling. I mean, when you switch over to the blues, you do pull some hooked lures, but for the most part, are you just pulling all teasers? What would your
teasers? So I've got basically because there's so many fish. Usually I'd run 3 teasers with a bridge teaser and 2 mates on the teasing rods. But because there's so many fish there, I make it as simple as possible, and I only put two teasers out. So the 2 mates are on, and all the clients are on if they're doing the course and they want to learn how to tease. That means the captain doesn't have to think about anything. He just has to drive and kind of conduct, so he doesn't get lost in teasing and telling everyone what to do because there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just putting. Actually, the baby rockers from Marlin Magic was out of this world.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Now, I also love the Islander Hawaiian eye. That's very effective.
The ballyhoo or something, or behind it?
Yeah, we're running strip bait inside. If you run a ballyhoo, the fish will pull that out pretty quick and eat it and leave the lure alone. So
yeah.
You're running strips. We sew the strips in.
Yeah.
So that they last all day. So the fish can't rip them out. And teasing's a real art. You got to let that fish taste that lure, taste the strip inside the lure, and then take it away, and then wait for him to come back, and then take it away again and again. It's a lot of patience. Timing is really important. If he grabs it and takes it, you've got to get it away from him. It's super fun teasing.
Yeah.
Part of the process, which is why I encourage clients to do it while there's an angler on the rod, and one of their friends is fishing on the rod. It adds to the whole part of the sport. And yeah, just those with two birds. They're kind of like 12 smallers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those work great for the striped marlin.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the ruckus you're just running, were you running it like behind a squid chain or just
no, literally just on a bird, flat.
Behind a bird?
Yeah, behind a bird. Yeah, flat. And then I would run a bird on every teaser. One bird, and they're the lure behind it.
To just add a little bit of action sound?
Yeah, just create some ruckus, because the bridge teaser, which would be a chain, I'm not using because there's enough fish. In Kenya, 2 bridge teasers together, 2 chains together, there's less fish.
Yeah.
2 teasers on top, and the 2 bird lure combos.
And you don't even mess with the dredge over there because you're getting so many bites.
There's really no need.
Yeah. Sounds like you don't need to.
To it. Yeah, that's really not necessary. The only reason to run it is to get some cool GoPro footage.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. And then when you're fishing for the blues, you would probably just pull like a 4 lure spread with some hooks in them, and
4 or 5 lures. Yeah, lots of barts and bonds and aloha smash bait. That's always on the left long.
Yeah, that sounded like that was the one that you guys hooked the biggest one on that trip. Was
the 800A there? Yeah. Sadly came off.
Yeah, it's hard to beat a smash bait, man. That thing works just about everywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's cool. And then it's interesting you mentioned the ruckus, because my friends in Mexico do really, really good on the smaller ruckuses. And no one really pulls them around here. Everything's kind of bigger, but so all the notoriety around a ruckus, Marlin Magic ruckus, is always talking about the large or like the medium, just like the regular size ruckus, even the XL ruckus. So you don't hear a lot about like the baby one, the little ones, a tiny ruckus and those, but they're killer, for people that are fishing in spots where there's just fish, like they want to get bites from fish, even sailfish. That lure is it's a lot like even the baby one, like it acts like a bigger lure, in terms of,
it has that wiggle to it, and the foam that it creates, that whole bubble trail is just mesmerizing to watch. Actually, I get caught out staring at it. All of it.
It's pretty aggressive for and for a small lure too. It's kind of a small. It's a small lure.
It's kind of the size most bait fish are, right? Like any average size ballyhoo or average size.
Yeah,
which is generally about that big. Smaller shells. So the size kind of fits what's around at the time, generally for those. Sure.
Well, that's a question I have for you actually too. I think this is interesting. Is when you tease one up on you tease one up on like a decent sized lure, and then you pull it away, the fly that you're throwing at that fish, it's generally quite a bit smaller than what they're teasing on, correct? Or
no, it's about the same size.
It's about the same. Okay, because I'm curious if you run into an issue.
25 centimeters, so it's just under. Don't know what that is in inches. Just under 12 inches, 11 and a half inches.
Oh, that's a pretty big fly.
But it's quite a big profile. But once it gets wet, it gets a bit smaller. But it's got a very big popping head on it.
Yeah, so it makes quite a bit of.
It makes a noise, and it makes a bubble trail when you strip it. And I usually fish. I like black and purple personally, or blue and white. And they're on it fast because they're right there. You can see the fish. You can see the fish when you're casting the fly, so you can know where to put it.
Now, when you throw that fly, you're trying. The best bite you could get would be a going away bite.
Absolutely, that's why we're trying to tease the fish almost to the transom.
Yeah. So if the fish
is fly and eats going away from us,
so you don't want to throw it too early because then he's going to come up behind it as he switches off that lure. So there's probably a bit of timing. Do you want to try and have him follow that bait close to the boat and then get the fly back behind. So when then that
Yes,
comes
so the fish is going to be like, I don't know how to. I'd like to draw a diagram, but the fish is going to be kind of 2 feet behind the transom.
Yeah.
And the captain yells neutral, and then you as the angler, you can see that fish is there, so you know to put it behind him, right? You know the angle, and also because the rigger's up, so you've got to cast kind of into that space where the rigger would be, and send your fly across the wash. So you don't want it to be on the other side of the wash, right? So you got to think about the wash. And because then it's a neutral, it's all completely quiet, and he might have already gone back around and come and eat it going forward. Usually they'll eat it going away. But that's what we're going for, is away, because you just kind of let the reel do the work. Then if he comes towards you, you've got a strip, and you've got a line on the ground. You step on it, you can wrap on your rod, and then you've got to set it and you've got to clear. You've got to actually get all that line onto your reel, and then you're safe again. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and that's I mean, generally when they eat it from behind, that's not the best hookup rate either, as opposed to when they're eating it.
You got to watch that fish, and you got to let him eat it. Like, you'll strip and he'll come, and if you strip again, he'll miss it. Like, as good at predators as they are, he'll miss it.
Yeah.
Then you go strip, he'll come, and you just got to leave it there. Like, I often hear myself shouting, like, let him eat, let him eat. They just pause and he just takes it, and I'm like, get out, set it, and clear.
Yeah.
But watching the fish is, the angler has to watch the fish and like behavior. And act accordingly, which is really hard to do if you're, new to it and haven't seen hundreds of these fish behave like that. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's there's a lot to it. For sure.
But you're playing with these fish, right? You're really making them angry, taking food away from them. Then you're stopping the boat, and they're just like,
what the hell?
And then you throw this fly in, and they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna go and eat that.
Yeah.
They're also quite confused about what's going on, so it's just quite interesting.
Yeah.
Behaviors and what they're up to.
It sounds.
I had one cross the wash, so we went into neutral, and I threw the cast over there. I was like, "Where's this fish, man?" And he just crossed the wash. He was over here. So I had to throw a back cast, like through the riggers, to get him to eat on that side. What's going on there? Never seen that before.
And he ate it?
Yeah. Then it broke off. I got a knot. I had too much line on the deck.
Yeah.
It was very cool. I was just like with the caption. I was like, he's here on the other side.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, so Galapagos just sounds phenomenal.
The place itself is just a magical place, right? Like, for me, when I first got there, I just walked to the dock, and there was a sea lion sunbathing on the bench, boobies and frigates in the dock, and turtles and small sharks swimming around. Where people are offloading fish. And nothing's scared of humans. Everything's kind of humans in nature existing. Nothing's ever been hunted. Everything's protected.
Yeah.
You go for dinner and there's iguanas swimming next to you and pelicans hunting. It's just such a cool place.
Wow.
And the changes of landscape, like, because it's very volcanic, right? You've got these ancient forests like covered in cloud, and you come down and it's rocky, and then you have this amazingly alive ocean. It's just such a diverse place. It's really special.
Yeah, that sounds. Everything I hear about it just sounds like such a cool spot to go check out.
Yeah, and we try and hit a couple or all 4 islands depending on the trips we do, so people get to see, because each island is very different as well. There's only 4 inhabited ones, so we try and make sure they see at least 2 species they want to go after. We get to actually see the diversity of it.
Cool. Other destinations that you're fishing or can give us.
PT's coming up for the World Cup. Marquesas for a week.
You're gonna fish with Tom.
Yeah, on Seawolf.
Okay. Cool.
Peter and I for a week. I've never been there. I'm very excited about that.
Sounds like there's some big fish down there, man.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm eager to hear what you all see and how you do.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then Kenya season starts mid-October.
Yeah. So tell us about Kenya, because you fished that for many. You fished a lot of seasons there. You know that zone. So
yeah, so Kenya's an amazing place, country. It's just like the Galapagos, really. Well, not just like, but the diversity and the wildlife, and it's very special. Kenyans are very special people as well. Incredibly, like, lovely people. So just the whole cultural and wildlife side is very special. And then it's white sand beaches and little islands. So it's super cool. And then the fishing side, so that's the sailfish season, October to mid-October to end of November. So, you're raising between 5 and 30 fish a day. So I run the billfish on fly course during that time. And then we can also do some inshore fishing for GTs and stuff on fly to add to the trips. So that's very cool. And what I love about Kenya is it's very affordable as well. I always feel, well, I know I've always had to work to go fishing in cool places. I've never been able to afford to go fishing in cool places, right? I had to do my job.
yeah.
I feel bad for guys, people in that same situation. I think Kenya's also a super affordable place to go fishing and have a very similar experience that you can have somewhere else that will cost you 10 times as much. So I love that about that. And then February and March is Kenya as well. So that's the marlin season. So blue, black, and stripes, all there together.
So the first half is all pretty much sailfish. You're going to target sailfish, fly fishing.
And kind of in January, late December, January, the marlin start showing up.
Yeah.
Get a bit windy in February and a bit rough. And then March, it flattens out, and that's where the best fishing is, I think, personally. So I only focus on the best time.
And blues, blacks.
Blue, black, stripes, sails, broadbill, all there.
And nighttime sword fishing, or do they do in daytime there too?
You can do daytime drops, yeah, and you can do nighttime as well.
So you can get some crazy slams there.
You can get a fantasy slam there. It's been a while. A boat had 4 of the 5 last year, and then they lost the broadbill at night, sadly. So
that's
they had the blue, black, a stripe, and a sail in the day, and the gangler was like, "Let's keep fishing. Let's go for it."
Yeah.
And they broke 3 off something. So
oh.
They lost 3 broadbill in the night, so that was a bit sad.
That's impressive fishing, though.
Very cool. Yeah. But we're going to Brazil in January.
Yeah.
So that'll be awesome.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. I mean, I'm hoping to join you guys, check it out, see what's over there. There's some freaking big animals, isn't there?
Very big on Charlotte Bank there,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about that too. I haven't been there yet.
So. Yeah. So these are some cool destinations. Do you have any travel stories that are interesting, or any fish stories of being in these destinations, or any funny
Yeah, I have a good one about the lucky fishing. This was in the Seychelles, actually.
Okay.
So usually Saturday's a changeover day, so we guide 6 days a week. Then Saturday's changeover, so we can clean the boats and we do tackle setup. But I was taking a guy, offshore fishing with his wife. So I met him at the bar on the Friday night. And he was like, "I just want to catch a marlin over 400 pounds. It's my bucket list." I was like, "Okay." And he's like, my wife would like to catch a sailfish. And I was like, "Okay, cool. Are we doing a full day?" He was like, no, we're doing a half day. I was like, "Okay, interesting. It's going to be a challenge." So anyway, I'm sitting on the boat on the dock waiting for him. He was an hour late. And it's an afternoon charter. So I'm losing daylight. Literally. So I just went into the office and I was like, can we call him and just say, let's do this tomorrow? Because he won. He's got some big hopes here. We're losing time. We've got like four hours left of daylight before now. I've still got to run to the spot, get out of the lagoon and stuff. So the head guide was like, no, don't worry, just go for it. We'll be fine. So anyway, we go and there's like a seamount 4 miles north of the atoll. And within 10 minutes, we hook a 700 blue. Just eats the outrigger. And we didn't have a chair. We had a stand-up harness. He was in his 60s. A bit of an intense one for him. And because of the pressure, he kept almost being pulled off the boat. So I had my 2 deckhands holding him up over the transom to keep him there. And then as he came up to lift the fish, he kept almost falling backwards. So I built like a cauldron of Yeti coolers around him and asked his wife to hold it there. And then after I think 3.5 hours, we landed the fish. We went back in. And he just, he asked for his dream to come true. And we did it in, 4 hours. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't always happen that way. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah, that's pretty interesting. What's the fishing like over there in the Seychelles?
So, because I haven't fished the banks around Mahe, that's the main island. Here in April, that can go off.
Yeah.
Where I was fishing is in the outer islands off Alphonse. When I got there, they'd never caught a blue at the lodge. They'd only seen some blacks. But they never really focused on it. So I actually managed to, a deckhand from Kenya who'd actually taught me how to fish when I was 8 happened to arrive at the island same time as me, same season. So we were given a boat to run, the offshore boat. And we managed to catch 2 blues in the first season on like 3 days of fishing. Then we started catching blacks. We never saw stripies. Lots of sailfish. There's a lot of sailfish on fly there. Lots of wahoo on fly as well. That was very cool.
Really, wahoo on fly. How do you tease those? Are you teasing them up, or you're?
Yeah, they come on the sailfish teasers. You need to switch really fast.
Yeah.
So you literally go into neutral immediately, and the deckhand winds as fast as they can, and you put the fly in the water. And they'll eat going vertical. So you're going to set. So they'll be like 20 feet in the air when you're setting the hook. Eating straight up. It's very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, they were awesome to have alongside the sails. Keep everyone very busy. That was a special place.
Yeah. That sounds that I've heard about it, but it's kind of see pictures every once in a while, hear a little bit about it here and there, but yeah, it sounds pretty special.
Yeah, super special place. Logistically, yeah. There you got to stay at a lodge there, really, or book a good captain on the main island.
Yeah.
But it's not cheap. It's very expensive.
Cool. Well, we Galapagos, Kenya,
Brazil,
Tahiti, or Marquesas. Any other spots that you spent a bit of time doing some guiding at, or taking people on, or?
Bahamas. I ran a lodge there for a while, but that was all bonefish on fly. So.
Inshore stuff, yeah.
Yeah, all inshore. Then I fished with Bristow out of Madeira.
How was that?
10 days. That was very cool.
Yeah.
What an amazing guy.
Were you guys heavy tackle fishing, or were you?
Yeah, we were just fishing for big blues.
Yeah.
I just sat upstairs and picked his brain, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Yeah, I mean,
his stories are amazing. His knowledge.
Oh, he's a legend. Yeah.
I'd just be taking notes, really. I took pictures of how he rigged everything.
That's cool.
It's so nice to fish with him. He's such a nice guy as well.
Yeah.
So calm and collected in the moment, and yeah. Really
That's really cool. And then you guys just went. Were you with Peter? You went to Colombia?
Yeah, I went to Colombia. We were fly fishing there. We did Darien Gap. It was very special. Super remote. Very
Yeah. What's it like over there? What was the?
It's a huge tuna fishery.
Mm-hmm.
There's tuna there all year round. And we're catching roosters and tarpon. We saw free swimming sailfish like on the rocks, which is out. I've never seen a sailfish that close to the shore in my life.
Wow.
I was actually throwing flies at them off the bow, free casting.
Yeah.
So that was very special. And then, yeah, they see black marlin in that kind of depth of water as well, they say. And they have a run of blues as well. They don't see striped blues very much. So that is another place that could definitely be worth exploring.
Yeah.
Getting the seasons right. They have a massive sardine run, which I think starting now. They all get pushed against the rocks in about 300 feet of water. Everything just comes up and just inhales them. Snappers to sailfish to blacks. So it's a very special part of the world, actually. Big cartel land. Peaceful cartel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you probably want to make sure you book with the right people over there and do things.
Yeah, it's all Colombian run. They know what they're doing. It's very safe, very chilled. Nice lodge.
Yeah.
Bit of a
cool.
60-mile boat ride from the airport. So you land at the airport, then you get on the boat, and it's a 60-mile.
And then you 60-mile run. Yeah.
To the lodge. Well, you fish on the way. Try and catch some tuna.
Oh, you guys Peter got a yellow on the way there. Was that?
Yeah, yellowfin on fly. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of work.
There's luckily they're all small.
Yeah, I don't have any. I have no desire to do that at all. That sounds awful.
Once I caught one, I was like, I either want a 30-pound one or I don't want to catch one.
Yeah, right.
This or let's not kill ourselves.
Yeah,
that's
cool. Well, I guess it would be a good time now to kind of talk about what we have planned or what we're brewing up here. We haven't done a formal announcement on GZ yet because we're still kind of working out all the numbers and getting all the packages correct and getting everything right. So when it's announced, everything's good. But we're looking at joining forces here and doing these type of guided trips. Jamie has as you can tell, he's been doing this for a long time and definitely has it dialed in. It's been awesome working with you on how you've been putting everything together and all that. So, but ideally, what the plan is having some destinations. Jamie already has his, the destinations we had spoke about that he's already been doing for a while. And then, adding in some other locations as well and doing some trips that I would be guiding as well. That would be more of like a heavy tackle and lure fishing. So I can talk about my expertise on that. And, Jamie would be sticking with fly fishing and, we're looking at, there could be the possibility of other guides and other spots. So something it's in the early stages, we're brewing it up here, but it's for me, it's extremely exciting because I really like the concept and Jamie's been doing it for a while. So it's something that is obviously people really do enjoy and there's interest in it. And it gives us the opportunity to, talk about and teach people a little bit about what we would know and then actually seeing it implemented into a fishery while you're there. Where when I'm running my boat, if you come and fish with me, we'll tell you as much as we can, but there's only so much we can do because we're just focused on trying to just get this to be a successful day. Yeah. And it's just a lot. So in this aspect, we're actually, in the cockpit and doing it. And then, the other aspect of it we're talking about is filming the entire event and, each one of them and making cool content out of it as well. And, sort of the heavier tackle lure fishing side of it would be, you would show up and have have a package of lures that we would get together for you and you'd have your package and you'd learn how to rig them. You'd learn how to do just about every aspect of it and then how to run them and then how to fight these fish on heavier tackle and all that. And that's something that I enjoy talking about. And I didn't understand. I guess I'm more and more understanding how much of a desire there is for people to want to learn different ways or want to learn from people that primarily lure fish. So that's something I'm super excited about offering. And then, you know, on Jamie's side, he's going to continue to what he has been doing. Yeah, so kind of exciting. We'll start getting some stuff up there soon and start kind of explaining and having the details on there. I guess, yeah, Jamie, did I leave anything out, or is there anything we should talk more on that? Or
I think, yeah, the main thing is that we're trying to make this educational, you know. So the whole point, like you said, is that we're not driving boats. We're actually standing next to the anglers, and you know, we're totally available for them to impart everything we know and to make sure they, you know, they learn and all their questions are answered, and they learn in a live environment, right? Like, it's one thing in the classroom, but it's very different when, you know, there's a 600-pound beam island about to eat the left shore. You're wondering what to do and you're not calm, but you know, you're next to them and you are calm and you're guiding them through that. That's the value, I think.
yeah, and I think the other thing too is when you're booking these trips, we're taking all the guesswork out of it. So, you know, there'll be the price breakdown, everything will be there, your accommodation, and it's all going to be researched. So you're going to be showing up at the research has been done. You know, we're not going to
showing up at a world-class fishery with a world-class guide. You know, everything's done from when you land at the airport to where you're staying to the captain you're fishing with. It's all been hand selected. It's all designed to be, you know, the best for that.
The guesswork is taken out of it, a lot of it, right? Yeah.
There's no ambiguity there. Like, it's all very, you'll get a PDF with an itinerary. That'll be what happens. It'll follow that to the letter, unless we have weather to deal with or something like that. But yeah, it's just a very smooth, easy operation.
Yeah,
it's all about the detail, I think.
Yep. And the plan is to pick, you know, these are going to be world-class fisheries. So
we're trying to build a whole year's worth of world-class fishing, right, around the world, guided.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I mean, I'm excited to get to fish these spots with you guys. So that's yeah, it's really cool. It's an awesome concept, and the school part of it is just such an added bonus. People will walk away from these trips with knowledge that they can bring back to wherever they fish, and know they can be confident and you know, have learned something that's takes some people years and, you know, 10 years, you know, and they can come and learn aspects. There's only so much you can learn on YouTube or you know, wherever, just randomly talking with people. A lot of it has to be hands-on and doing it, putting the time in. And you know, a lot of people, they only get to fish on weekends or on holidays, or they don't even own a boat, but they love fishing. So how are they expected to, you know, learn all this in such a short, you know, without being shown?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I think that's a great aspect. I think that people should focus more on is kind of helping each other become better fisherwomen, whatever.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I understand that guarded, like, people are like, oh, you got to guard these secrets or whatever, and this and that, and I can understand that, but like, you know, not everybody has the luxury to change their entire life and you know, sacrifice whatever it is they have just to be on the water every single day. So if you've been doing that your whole life and whatever, and you can give a little bit back to the community and teach people, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, you spend a lot of time. You don't. I mean, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time on the water getting it wrong.
Yeah.
My learning experience was, you know, I tied the wrong knot, and to get that out of the old guys at the fishing club, it wasn't easy either. You know, to get them to tell me what knot I was going to tie. I used to go and go on their boats and take photos of the knots, and then go and like, that's how I went about it, you know. But I think actually coming and learning on a trip and passing it on and having an expert next to you is really adds a lot of value. People really like it.
Yeah. Hey, Cole. We got Cole
Hey.
back.
Yeah. I was fixing some stuff on YouTube, and I decided just let you guys chat for a bit. So learn a few stuff as we go.
Yeah.
But it was working fine, so we're good to go. But,
oh, cool. Cool. Well, is there anything you want to bring up or talk about or bring?
No, I mean, for just on the same conversation, you know, as someone who, I mean, I'm in freaking Oklahoma. I don't get a whole lot of opportunity to go travel out there and go out there and learn a lot about sport fishing. I don't live in that world. So I think this is something, especially as the evolution of our company's gone, that I'm most excited about. This is, you know, Chris, you and I have had this vision of, and one of the reasons why we work together is because we're trying to help fishermen become better at their craft, and that's the whole point of these trips. And so like you're talking about, Jamie, and so that's something me personally, you know, especially as I can't wait to learn a lot more about this stuff and getting film on these trips and doing it all professionally. I think that's something I'm really excited about. So again, Jamie, thank you for joining up with us on that and giving us that opportunity.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. And I had some other questions as well we can talk about. But if you had something else you want to get into first, Chris, we can get into.
No, we probably will, you know, let's go into that, and then we'll probably go into some question and answer stuff and just kind of get towards the tail end of this.
Yeah, well, regarding fly fishing, like I've seen some of the pictures of your flies, and you talked about it a little bit. I know you don't have them in front of you probably, but
I do.
Do you? Cool. Awesome. If you could show that, that'd be great. Because I'm curious how they're constructed. Because obviously, you know, Oklahoma's not really known for their fly fishing, but we have a few places where we can do some really good fly fishing at, and I'm really curious how they're constructed. To be honest, like since we started working with you, this is sort of Chris and I haven't talked a lot about it, but we're interested in kind of supporting this side of the industry because it's a little bit more handcrafted and a little bit more niche.
Yeah, I get these tied in Kenya. Kenya is like one of the biggest exporters of flies in the world. If you want to have a look, there's a tube fly, right? So it's all tied on this tube. So all the feathers are tied on that tube. And then you put your hooks in the one end, of course. And then it comes with like a popping head, which you add.
Okay.
This is what the fish is seeing. You get other ones with different popping heads. It's actually more of a sailfish fly than a marlin fly. It's a bit small, this one. But it worked in the Galapagos just fine. Then you put I usually have a tandem hook rig out the back, rigged with wire. So I'd rather have a stiff rig than a flapping mono rig. Quite often, if you rig two hooks with a fly, when you cast, one hook will come over and
on the line
hook the leader. And when you strip, it just doesn't look like a fly anymore. So this makes a lot of noise when you strip it properly. That's very bright. It's very easy for the fish to see. Yeah, it worked nice.
And that's like a hard foam, that popper on the front.
Yeah, this is hard foam.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was curious what that nose was on. I noticed there was something on the nose of those baits when I was looking at some of your photos and stuff, and I was really curious what that was.
So yeah, the popper,
Yeah. And did you make that yourself, or do you get those from like a specialty shop, or?
Yeah, the flies are tied in Kenya by fly tie, and then you buy these separately, and then you buy the hooks separately, and then you kind of pull them all together yourself.
Gotcha.
So that's part of the course. Everyone will learn how to do that. They come how to build their flies and rig their hooks.
Yeah, so people that go on your trips will actually learn how to create their own saltwater flies.
Everyone will build their own fly. Everyone will tie their own knot. They'll tie their own double bimini in their 20-pound tippet, and then their FG knot to their shock tippet. I mean, these are not easy knots to tie either.
No, that's crazy, man.
I'll try one for them if they want, but they're gonna learn how to do it, and if they want to use their knot, they can.
That's awesome. That's just like insane how valuable that is. I mean, if you weren't being taught that on a trip, how are you going to learn that stuff? I mean,
there's very little online as well. Actually, I've Googled how to rate IGFA, IGFA like billfish, leader, and lure, and for fly fishing, and I mean, there's little to no information. I kind of made it up with other people's flies, some buy flies with leader 20 pound on there. So I used to have a look at those knots and be like, what have they done here, and what can I do to change this or make it better, or should I just copy them? Yeah,
that's cool.
Awesome.
Cool. And the hook rigs are all double hook.
Like I always do double hook. I think I've got one somewhere.
That would be cool to see. They're like a super light gauge, huh?
Yeah, here's one. Yeah. Some people fish singles, but I don't want a single hook in there. This one's a bit rusty, so forgive me. But yeah, here we
go. Okay, that's a bit of a cable on the end.
Yeah, just single strand wire. Yeah.
Yeah, wire.
And then that gives it a stiff hookup.
And you want the stiffness for the bite, or so it doesn't wrap around the leader?
I want the stiffness so it doesn't come and wrap when you cast. Mm-hmm. And when you set the hook, I don't want the hook to be flapping around. I want it to be coming straight through. Yeah. And then the gape is just kind of big enough to get in a bill.
Yeah.
Not too small.
Yeah, I mean, you must hook. I mean, if they eat it, you're probably hooking that fish, huh?
That's the nice thing. If it's been teased properly, it's very angry when it eats. But if the angler, you can't lift your rod, right? Everyone in trout fishing, to hook a fish, you lift your rod.
Yeah.
In saltwater, it's the opposite. Everyone learns to fly fish on trout. So the first thing you're teaching them is do not lift your rod up when you hook a fish. I actually stand next to them and hold my arm out
to stop them from.
The rod will hit my arm. I'm like, no, keep it down, thank you very much. And like, just you got a strip set, you just got to pull the line. Fly rods have no power in them. You lift the rod, you just create slack, and the hook will just come straight off.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. You guys gotta come and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think that's something we might need to get ourselves into a little bit, is the fly fishing gear, Chris.
Yeah.
It just sounds like there's, I don't know. I don't know where you kind of get that tackle and stuff from, but it's a niche market we haven't touched yet, and that's kind of our jam. So finding those little niche markets. So now that we're doing our own little trips there, it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Mitchell would love to try to tie one of those things. He's been talking to me about it. He's just been pushing us to try and get into freshwater. I was like, oh, we may not have to get into freshwater to get into tying flies, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wonder how you always use like a feather material. Do you ever use like the Flashaboo that we use, like the?
It doesn't have to be a natural fiber. It can be EP fiber as well. These are generally more marabou.
Uh-huh. I think that's actually where the Flashaboo originally came from. It was a fly fishing application, and someone said, "Hey, this might work on marlin lures or whatever, bigger lures."
Yeah. The company we get our Hedron, the company that we get our Flashaboo product from, if you go on their media accounts, all they're talking about is fly fishing. So they got they have piles of different materials and styles that they use. The ones that we use are just very select because everything else pretty much tangles from them. So, and then of course, Tantrum Nick, he made his own, he got his own version made of that stuff, and that's his only focus on the trolling. But yeah, they have like just a bunch of different variations of fly material, flash boost stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, these are quite simple flies to tie overall.
Yeah.
They're very affordable if you buy them in Kenya as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to talk more about that for sure. All right, cool. Anything? Is there anything else, Cole, that you might want to bring up?
No, I didn't have any other questions. We had one on our YouTube channel reached out, and it's just a generic question, and you could see it there. Yeah, Nolan was just asking if we always, and I think actually this question came up with John, something like it.
Yeah.
Do we always run a hook stop in our lures when we're rigging?
Well, I always do, unless it's a jetted lure, then I'll toothpick it. But again, it's personal preference. Everybody can do it. You can always do things differently and it may work better for you, but, I find it pretty important to have a hook stop of some sort. Doesn't have to be the rubber one, but the rubber one's the easiest one. It's pretty easy. You just glue it on, and then you can orient your hook to decide how you want that lure to run. If you don't have a hook stop, that hook can move around, and that hook is acting like a rudder at certain times. So if it's changing direction, it's going to change how your lure will run. And not only will it possibly make your lure run like crap, but it could also promote really bad bites, because if that thing is going a certain way for a while and then does something weird, well, if that fish is coming up to eat right when it goes to do something weird, you're going to get more of a slashing, kind of different type of bite than you would if that was running more straight. In Kona, a lot of times we like to, especially on the real aggressive lures, we like having that hook down, which actually stabilizes that lure a little bit better, because we're finding that, in your teasers, maybe you want that action of going all over the place, but with, your aggressive pushy type lures, you want a more of a straight running. You're just going to get probably a bit better bite on that. So you kind of need a rubber stopper to accomplish that, or something. Some people use, I've seen some lure makers have like a tubing that they put in there. And then the only issue you run into is the jetted bullets and stuff like that, which you could toothpick. Toothpicking works good too, but I'd prefer the rubber stopper, because toothpicking, if it's like a bigger hook rig, sometimes it won't hold it, especially if you're using a stiff hook rig. It kind of will like act a little funny where it connects, where the toothpick hits. But that's my way of doing it. Jamie, do you have anything to say on that in terms of?
I always run a hook stop. I don't toothpick though. I usually have a hook stop.
A rubber hook stop. Yeah.
Very easy, and you know what's happening.
Yeah.
I reduce the number of variables that cause you not to catch fish.
Yeah, exactly.
End of the game.
Yeah.
So that's one of them.
Yep. Well, yeah, Nolan, that's what we would say. Yes, always see what works for you, but our recommendation is yes. I always run a hook stop. Most people would, but again, if you try something different and it works and you're catching a bunch of fish, let us know. Well, any other questions for anyone else out there? Feel free to type them in there and we'll address it. And if anyone wants to chat real quick, say, hey, turn my thing on, I'll turn it on. Beyond that, Jamie, for people that have never even fly fished in their life or whatever, and saw this or whatever, and is like, wow, I want to do this. What do you recommend? How should they kind of get their toe wet in this?
If you never fly fished at all, you want to book some casting lessons, first of all. If you can't cast, that's the most frustrating bit, right? So getting your casting right is the first step. And casting a big, heavy rod, because obviously when you trout fish, you're going to use a 4-weight fly rod. With a marlin, we're using 12 and 14 weight fly rods. they're very different beasts to cast. So you're going to want to learn a few different type of casting techniques, particularly a double haul, which gets some weird timing on the way you're casting. That's what you need in saltwater fly fishing. So start with some casting lessons. Get a rod and leave it in your backyard and play with it.
Yeah.
You'll get better pretty fast. And then go from there. That would be my advice.
Okay, so yeah, casting.
Find a local fly shop or a local casting instructor near you and start there. And then start thinking about the fish you want to catch and start kind of angling your fly fishing in that direction.
Yeah.
Time with the casting instructor is really important, and then time practicing is really important.
Cool.
Yeah, and then travel fishing as well. Like practice before you come. You know, you're spending a lot of money on a fishing trip, and say you're sitting at home with your fly rod and you're not practicing. You know, the week before your trip, like you're gonna miss out on your trip. So,
yeah,
a lot of people show up who have not played with their fly rod, for 3 months, and then they come on a pretty expensive trip and they're a bit rusty. And it takes us 2 days to get them, to shed the rust, and then they catch a fish on day 3. But they can catch a fish on day 1 if they do a bit of practice at home the week before.
Cool. Yeah, and of course, if somebody's booking a trip with you, you'll kind of guide them through how to prepare and get ready before they get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm near them, I'll come and do a pre-trip lesson on land. If I'm near them, happily. If I'm not near them, then I might recommend someone if they're up for it to go and do like a quick casting lesson or bring things up a level. But day 1 on the trip, like they'll hopefully land at lunchtime, and by in the afternoon we're on the beach and they're practicing casting their fly rod, and we're running through exactly how it's going to go down the next day, so that afternoon, and the time knocks, so they get a bit of a sense of what's about to happen on the next day pretty quickly. I start shouting and I pretend there's a fish there, and I make them nervous. So
try and get them.
Yeah. Try and create the pressure, right? So it's like a live environment.
Yeah, I assume everything changes. Everything changes when there's actually a fish in the spread. It's a lot different than casting at a target or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's a fish there. And I have a hard enough teaching my clients in tournaments to just pick up a heavy tackle rod and just walk to the chair with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just when one of those things shows up and it's close and people black out.
Yeah, you either go into autopilot or you black out.
Yeah. So that's cool. So yeah, practice before you get there and start casting.
Yeah, you add so much more to your trip.
You'll
get more out of it very quickly.
So it looks like we got a question here from Brando in Hilo, and he's curious about learning how to fish on this side. He's fished for salmon but never pelagic, so looking for an adult summer camp experience. Well, that's right up your alley, Jamie. Probably
you can absolutely put summer camp together. Usually I do 3 anglers. And if you want to do it in the summertime, Morocco is a great place to do that. The white marlin bite between mid-August and September is pretty insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a new destination for me, so it's a cost price the first trip. So
yeah. Well, I guess give us Brando, shoot us a message either at GZ or an email or on Instagram or whatever, and we'll get you guys linked up and see what we can work out. Not sure if it would be worth trying that in Hawaii, just because of the numbers we get if you're not familiar with doing it. But maybe down the road, I don't know. I mean, if Jamie wants to do it, I would try it here sometime.
Yeah, I'm down for that, especially the spearfish.
Yeah.
A lot of spearfish now.
Yeah, this year is more than I think I've ever seen. But I also think that the numbers are getting really trumped up because people are fishing a little different with the sonar units. So it's like they're finding these fish everywhere. So the numbers, yeah, I mean, I think the spearfish bite's still good. I mean, everybody's getting piled on by spears, but you know, the guys catching 7, 8, you know, however many a day, they're definitely that's sonar helping.
I still haven't been on a boat with a serious Omni.
Yeah, it's a different world.
I've seen what it does. I'm a little bit scared about it.
Yeah.
Makes things too easy.
Yeah. Well, at least they don't have it in some of these other spots yet, so it's still
still
a bit
of cool stuff.
Old school style, which I like.
I like that as well.
Yeah.
I think women fishing is going to be a bit tricky with Omni.
Yeah.
Don't have them on boats that do. It's a very different.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother wormhole. You don't want to get me going down.
That's an
down this. So I have a very, very sour opinion on the whole sonar shit that's going on. And
really,
yeah, you don't want to get me going down that road.
I don't think it's very fair on the fish or the technique of finding these creatures.
It's just goes hand in hand with how the new generation, everything's got to be instant gratification. Everybody's looking for a shortcut. They want instant, you know, likes, instant this, instant that. It's like
I've heard of boats with Omnis that are a mile wide, the cone or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy, man.
Mile wide is no joke.
Well, we got one more question, and then we probably might want to wrap it up here. Summarize what has happened technologically to advance sonar. Oh, well, there's a lot there with that. I mean, basically, the sonar, the Omni sonar is completely different than what we used to have, which was an up and down, just small cone, which means you kind of got to get right over or very close to a fish to market. And then you don't really see where it's going, where this is a omnidirectional. It's like the submarine stuff that's going, that, you know, like you're marking targets far away and almost like radar, but underwater. So it's changed it where now you can see bait, tunas, marlin, spearfish, whatever. You can see these marks in live time and where they're going and what they're doing. And so if you think about it, okay, there's one over there, we'll drive over there. And then if you miss that fish, you can still also find out where that thing goes and get another shot at it. And there are also the guys that are good at it are able to even kind of tell what size these fish could be, or possibly if this is a big blue marlin, so let's follow it. And the thing about marlin fishing is sometimes you can drive right over one and it just doesn't eat because it just doesn't want to. But if you drove over that fish 5-6 times, you have a better chance of having that thing come up and check you out than not. But
yeah, stories of guys following a fish for an hour and then it ate or something.
Yeah. So you think about, you know, you're staring at a video game system kind of deal, and you're just finding targets and following things. So different world. Yeah. I'm waiting for the Apple headset version, and then all the guys are going to have the fucking thing on here, and you laugh. Watch, man.
The Apple VR.
You watch what happens, man. It's gonna be different. It'll be like,
yeah. Chris, anyway, we need to get on that. Get ahead of the game on that one.
Yeah. We'll message. I'll message Apple when we get off. Well, shoot, that was fun. Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure. Thanks, man.
Doing these trips with you, and we're looking forward to getting all this set up. And yeah, it's a great concept.
Yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge and experiences on here, and I think it was, we're generally talking like heavier tackle, blue marlin trolling. So this is way different. And yeah, it's great. And all aspects of this fishing are fun. So that's cool. So anyone out there that wants to experience this and try something different, Jamie's the guy. Yeah. Anything we should close on, guys? Anything you want to say or before we head out?
No, Jamie said it before, but I appreciate you coming on here and helping us through this. This is a whole new venture for both, for this company, especially fly fishing. I think I haven't heard it talked about a whole lot till we got plugged in with you. So I'm excited for, hopefully we can do something with that and kind of make that more of a thing, because that sounds like a blast. So we're appreciating.
Yeah, I think in the evolution of fishing, like as you go up the levels of challenges, I think it's the fun one at the end. See, you either want to catch a giant blue marlin or you want to catch a marlin with a fly rod. I think there's a pinnacle-y moment.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very fun.
Yeah.
I think the more people do it, the more they'll love it as well. So.
Yeah. And Jamie, can you, Brando asked, but can you just say where people can find you at on social media and all that?
Yes, it's at Jamie D Melvin. That is my Instagram tag. You can find me on GZ's account as well. I think we're tagged together on something.
Yeah. If you can't find them, just message us, and we can all put you through.
Yeah, it's really cool to work with you guys. It's nice to be part of a team because I've been doing it solo for a while. So
to
do it with some guys who have the same passion. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Yeah, it'll be fun. So we'll get to it this week and try and get all this stuff up there soon for everybody to start booking.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going, it's pretty much when I press this off button, it'll say end event and it'll just kind of cut off. So we'll say goodbye now. And Jamie, I'll shoot you a message. We'll just stay in touch over the next few days. And
sounds good.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it, man.
Cheers, Cole.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, man. Bye.